Hey everyone, this is Joe Curtis. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at the Pango Group, and I wanted to share a little bit about market trend data and brought to you by Altos Research in a way to kind of use it to talk to your clients about what is happening in the market these days. So let's get started. Ultimately, our goal with Altos Research and being able to provide it to our clients is we want to be able to, and I love this quote by Carly Fiorina, who's the former CEO of Hewlett Packard. The goal is to turn data into information and information into insight. And so we want to use actual data that's going on in the market. There's a lot of talk and conjecture about what's happening. And with a few simple tools that Altos Research provides, you can quell a lot of the fear in the market. And with your clients. So here's what we're going to cover. We're going to go over a data overview. We're going to talk about the market trend reports. These are things that you can get emailed to you. We're going to talk about a couple of different segments, the real-time market profile, the market action index, some of the different market segments in the reports. And then I have a couple of action items and resources. So these are the things that we're going to cover today. So we have been using Altos Research market data for the past 7 years, and a couple of things that you need to know. Data is data. Data is there to tell a story, and the reports are great. They're dynamic. They're mobile friendly. They're easy to share on social. We're going to walk through a couple of components, but you should know that are available by city or all the way down to the zip code. So the smallest geographic denomination in the reports is via zip code. You can do single family residence as well as attached or condos. So those are two different tabs, which I'll show you. And I also want to say it's listing data. So this is market trend data, not MLS sold data. There are two different data sets. Both sets tell a story. I believe that listing data is actually a true reflection on what's going in the market right now. Whereas if you're looking at sold data, that's a reflection of what buyers were doing, 30 to 45 days ago. So I like looking at updated weekly market trend data because it tells us what's going on with listings, what's going on with pricing, and you can actually, there's some leading indicators, whereas closed data is more of a lagging indicator as it relates to the real estate market. And then it's updated weekly. So this data gets updated in their big database, done every Friday. And then by Monday, you can actually see the results of the new data for the prior week. All right, well, here's what an Altos market trend report looks like. This one's for Torrance, and we're gonna log in actually to a live report pretty soon, which I'll toggle on my screen. But it's got a couple of different components here. You have the real-time market profile, you have a market action index, you have a graph here that will tell you the median list price in the reports, but you can also run several different statistics on here. And then another really cool part about the report is it breaks each market segment into quartiles. So basically it divides the market into 25 percentiles, so quartiles, and it will tell you what's going on with that particular quartile. Like you can see here, the lower quartile here has the average days on the market of 95, whereas the upper quartiles, more expensive quartiles, are actually moving a little bit faster versus the lower end. So just different things that you can look at, and this is really easy to kind of see. So we're going to dig down a little bit into the real-time market profile. Couple of things here. This is just, hey, in Torrance or whatever market you're looking at, it's going to give you some basic statistics and some trend lines. So the middle is the trend lines, and then the statistics that I really like to look at that I think are really interesting to have a conversation about the market is this number, the percent of price decrease. So this is the number of properties that have taken a price decrease in the last 90 days is 18%. In normal markets, you see that as around 35%. So I've been looking at this data for about 20 years, or excuse me, about 7 years, and looking at this statistic move in different markets or different zip codes is a really good indicator of kind of like what is happening in that particular market from a supply and demand standpoint. So you'll have numbers, price increased, relisted, total inventory. It's even giving you some medium rent, your most and least in this market action index. So this is saying it's a strong seller's market, and we're actually going to get into that specific statistic next. So the market action index is a proprietary kind of like algorithmically calculated measure of how the market is doing. And so, this is their catch, how is the market and it compares essentially how quickly things are moving versus inventory in an algorithm. So that what they've done is they've pegged neutral at 30, and anything above 30 is a seller's market, and anything below 30 is a buyer's market. So this is just a really quick gauge to see. And what's cool that they've done is they said, hey, here's where it is today, meaning the last week. And then they'll give you it as it relates to the last month, these two bands here. So I think this is a really cool thing also to take a look at, especially over time if you're getting these week over week. All right, let's jump in really quickly to a couple of live reports. So I'm going to pull up a live report. Here we go. All right, so this one is for Sherman Oaks, California. And so when you go in, a couple of just navigation things that you should know about. You can toggle between houses and condos. So as you can see in Sherman Oaks, condos, a lot stronger seller's market than homes, which is a little bit lower. They're both sellers, but condos is definitely a little bit favors the seller on this side. So let's look at houses. You can also go, if you want to search any other zip code, you can look up any zip code you want. I really like Del Mar. It'll kind of give you an option. You'll be able to go back and say, hey, here's what's happening in Del Mar. Well, Del Mar looks like it's average. It was actually 31 last week when I looked at this. So the market is changing a little bit in Del Mar. So let's go back to Sherman Oaks real quick. And we'll look through a couple of the statistics and how you can show different data here. Easy to search. I'm going to pick Sherman Oaks. I could pick any zip code, but we'll pick Sherman Oaks as a whole. The other thing that you can do is you can actually share this report directly on any of your social. You can also pull down a single page report just by clicking here, and then boom, it's going to give you that report that we were looking at earlier. And it'll actually give you a true report. And this is something that you can print off, use with clients, email to them, or whatever. So we've already talked about the real-time market profile. We've talked about Sherman Oaks. I wanted to show you a couple of cool things that you can do. When I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of different areas that you can look at. I can look at the market action index over time. I can look at the average days on market. I can look at the inventory. So let's take a look at the inventory in Sherman Oaks. So what this defaults to is a 3-year window of what's been happening. So you can clearly see some seasonality that you've had in here from year to year, where you have lower inventories in the winter and you get higher inventories in the summer. So what's cool about their graphs now is you can actually pick here, and I say, hey, you know what? I just want to look at 2020. So I'm just going to pull here, and you know what? I'm going to look at not the 90-day average. I kind of want to see what's going on week to week. And so now I'm taking the 7-day average, because remember, they collect data over a week and they update it once a week on Friday. And I can see that the inventory in Sherman Oaks has been kind of stable throughout March. And then all of a sudden, March 20th, we took a dip. We took over a 10% dip. We went from 90 to 80. And since then, it's creeped back up. And I think that this would be, March 20th is right around the time when we did a lot of those shelter in place orders. You probably had some things get put on hold in the MLS. And so you see this dip. And then now we're seeing, it climbing kind of like back out, which I think is an encouraging sign for Sherman Oaks. So you can take a look at different statistics like this. You can drill down. And I think especially now with what's happening with all the shelter in place, with COVID-19, looking at market trends from week to week is something that we're going to be paying a lot of attention to. We want to look at the percentage of properties with the price decrease. That has been shrinking. We said in a normal market, it's around here. We've seen it kind of rise a little bit, and it's now coming down. So this is really great information to share with your buyers and sellers about kind of what is happening with the market this last week. So market segments is, again, we talked about this. This just goes down a little bit deeper into kind of the profiling of the different markets. As you see in Sherman Oaks, the top quartile, the median price is around 3.4, a little bit larger house, a little bit larger lot, kind of the profile, age of the home, and the days on market. So you can see in Sherman Oaks, the lower end is moving more quickly than the upper end, which we've seen. And I would say that's usual in some higher end markets like Sherman Oaks. So I hope this was helpful. We have a couple of action items to do from here that I would highly recommend. I would say read the reports and understand the data. Use data to reinforce your brand and your message, so you can say, hey, here is what is happening with the market trends that is happening this week. I want to give you a weekly update. This allows you to position yourself as a market expert. Altos reports are available to you and your clients on a complimentary basis from the Pango Group. We give this information to anybody who wants it, buyers, sellers, anyone, because we believe a more educated consumer is a better client. And so we want to just make sure that this information is available. So please reach out. You can send us an email at altos@pangogroup.com, altos@pangogroup.com, and request some of these zip code reports. And we will get you in touch with one of our very capable sales reps to get you signed up with those. So thank you for tuning in and listening, and I hope everybody stays healthy.